I am Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, the 2019 recipient of the Peace Prize from Slovakia, both in my personal capacity and on behalf of the World Food Prize Foundation in Des Moines, Iowa, which I headed for 2 decades. I'm delighted to send my greetings to my very good friend, Dr. Peter Kosolowski, and all the members of the Association Informal Economic Forum, Economic Club, and the International Peace Committee gathering this March 2024 in Bratislava. It was an incredible honor and one for which I still have the most vivid memory of being there with you and having that amazing honor conferred upon me, and to offer words at that time about the approach that I have taken throughout both my diplomatic career, 32 years, and then the 2 decades in which I led the World Food Prize, of my philosophy of peace through agriculture. And I expressed how delighted I was to be receiving this award in a country that when I first visited Bratislava, and was part of Czechoslovakia, and it was on the front lines of the war, the Cold War between the Soviet bloc and the West. And then returning in 2019, when Slovakia, now free and independent, is on the front lines of promoting peace. And promoting peace through your organization by what I refer to as citizen diplomacy. Apart from the official governmental diplomacy, citizen diplomacy can be extremely powerful, both in the forums that are held, the ideas that are discussed, the awards that are presented. I know that from having observed the work of your club and economic forum and committee, as well as those in my home state of Iowa, from which I'm speaking to you. The world is too much beset by violence now. The heartbreaking events that we see in Ukraine, seeing the terrible suffering that is occurring in Gaza over the bitter battles that have been struggled there, and the terrible depredations carried out, the suffering of innocent people, and wish that there was a way to promote peace. I have been, since receiving the Peace Prize from Slovakia, working as an independent consultant, an independent citizen, since I retired from the World Food Prize, and particularly have been seeking to promote peace through agriculture and promote citizen diplomacy between the United States and China, because it is absolutely essential that the US and China remain at peace and that the world remain at peace if we are going to be able to deal with the single greatest issue that our species, the human species, has ever confronted. Can we sustainably and nutritiously feed the 9 to 10 billion people who will be on our planet in the next 25 years? That will require that we deal with issues of climate change. We have to deal with preventing pandemic plant diseases and animal diseases, just as human diseases like COVID, and at the same time ensure that we promote peace and stability so that food can be traded between those countries that are producing it and those that need it to be able to feed their ever-growing populations. In terms of the US and China, there is a remarkable story about how in 1980, after establishing diplomatic relations between our two capitals, delegations visited from China. I was then in Iowa, working for the governor of Iowa, and I had the opportunity to meet the very first delegation of provincial officials, provincial governors, coming to America at the airport. And along with the governor of Iowa, we welcomed a group from Guangdong province and Hebei province. It turned out that the leader of that delegation was the father of President Xi Jinping of China. And that has been a connection that I have had. And I have interacted with President Xi, such as in 2012, when he came to Iowa to deliver the keynote address at the U.S.-China Agricultural Symposium that I was hosting at the World Food Prize. And I had the opportunity then to tell President Xi how I had escorted his father around Iowa in 1980. As you may know the story, President Xi, as a young man, just 31 years of age, on his first trip ever outside of China, came to Iowa as well, and was so warmly received and embraced by people in Iowa that he's had a connection there all these years since then. And that connection has remained very vivid, as was demonstrated last November at the Asian Pacific Economic Consultations in San Francisco, and where President Xi Jinping came, had a summit meeting with President Biden of the United States, and afterwards, at a dinner where President Xi would be addressing the American business community, there was a small reception held for a very small group of Americans. And among them were 10 Iowans, including me. We had the opportunity to greet President Xi privately and remind him and discuss with him about his first visit. And President Xi was incredibly warm. He remembered the address, street address, of the houses where he had stayed back in 1985 when he visited the little town of Muscatine, Iowa. And the lady named Sarah Landy, who was his host, was there with him. And in his remarks that he gave to this assemblage of business titans and CEOs and leaders, President Xi talked about that experience, that people-to-people experience. I was so taken with the president's remarks and the opportunities that I wrote an article and gave interviews that appeared in China Daily, promoting peace through agriculture. And I said, given this great challenge we have in the world, where Africa will have 1 billion people, just imagine if the US and China could partner together. If President Xi and President Biden could announce that America and China are working together to upgrade farm-to-market roads all over Africa, which has been the key to economic development and prosperity, whether it's in Central Europe, where you are, in the United States, central part of the United States where I am, or in the central parts of China, where President Xi and his father grew up, and that roads were the absolute essential element to economic development. And so imagine coming out of your discussions or other efforts of citizen diplomacy, whether these ideas we can put forward can be the key to restoring peace and preserving peace. I wish you all the very best in your discussions, and very much hope that you will continue in all of your efforts so that through citizen diplomacy, such as what you are practicing, we can provide peace through agriculture for all the citizens of our world. Thank you so much.